Ephemeris. There are different dates. This is from 2000 to 2050 right now. And what we're looking at is the planets. So this is the sun, the moon at midnight, so 0 hours, the moon at noon, and your ephemeris might be different from mine. This is the north node, or what's called the true node, Mercury, Venus, Mars, that's Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Now, some of the new ephemeris will also include Chiron and Ceres, but if you look down here at the bottom, there are aspects the planets make also. So we can see right here that Mars and the North Node are making an aspect, Uranus in Virgo, and so forth, and also something called ingress, meaning when does Saturn change signs? It's an ingress. Over here, what you're looking at is the Chiron. So they didn't add Chiron in the main part of the ephemeris. Chiron is also down here, and the true node. Here are the phases of the moon and the eclipses so that you can read that. Now, we've looked at my mother's chart a lot. So this, we're going to go back to May of 1949. And you see how Mercury is shaded here. See the shading? All the way down to here, shaded Mercury. So we know in 1949, Mercury was retrograde here. And when you're born with a retrograde planet like that, it will take a certain number of years. And that's what I was talking about with progression. It will take a certain number of years for it to become direct. So my mother was 13 years old, and you have to count from the day she was born to here, when she was able to finally get her own consciousness and say to her father, I know what you're doing. So you have to watch that last video I did about the moon. So it took her that long for her Mercury to get direct until she could actually use her words to stand up for herself. All right, that's if you're born with a Mercury retrograde, by progression, you count one day in the ephemeris all the way forward and say, oh, okay, by the time she was 13, her Mercury was direct and she was able to use her words, her language, and speak about the condition that she was experiencing. So it's somewhat like that. You can also see that Jupiter in May was retrograde. Now, Jupiter, when it's retrograde, will be a lot longer. So you see all of this shaded area is all her retrograde Jupiter. And her Jupiter is in the 8th house in her natal chart. So all her good luck, blessings, anything that would be positive, optimistic, expansive, because Jupiter is that greater benefic planet, does not happen at all in her early life. So, but look at this. Jupiter was still retrograde. All of this, all of this, all of this. And so basically, Jupiter was retrograde. So you can kind of do it kind of quick, like say 10 years here plus 30 here. So she would have been 40 plus another 30 here. Jupiter's not going to be direct for my mother's whole life. You see that? So Jupiter is still retrograde, even when she's in her 70s, add another 30 here and another, say, 15 here, she would have to live to like 150 years old for her Jupiter to ever bring beneficial, optimistic ability for her to feel good about herself. So that is when I was explaining the one book that you absolutely must have as an astrologer is called an Ephemeris, because you will be able to help your client. And please do not depend upon me. The reason that I'm teaching you this is so that you can do this. Is look at a May birth of 1949. Jupiter does not go direct. Yeah, she would have to be 150 years old. So she would have to make it to 150 years old for blessings, positive outlook, any kind of individuality that she might be able to cultivate for Jupiter to go into like some beneficial situation. And that's why the greatest lie that we've ever been told is that we have to die, that we're supposed to die, because they're counting on you never being able to get to 150 years old, where you would start to have some beneficial possibilities in your life. Okay? Now, if you can understand that, if you read like even the old scriptures, like from the cuneiform, which Paul Wallace does so beautifully, we used to live over 1,000 years. It's quite obvious that something happened to us. Yes, the ephemeris is blurry, and I can't fix it. You just have to get your own ephemeris, Levy, and look at your ephemeris while I'm holding my finger. But get your own ephemeris and I'll be able to show you. I'm just kind of getting everything ready for this week. But this is why, and there's tons of documents upon this now, that we were cut, we were changed. Everything about our lifespan was reduced so that we would die. And I don't need to do anything about my picture quality moon sprout, because this is not about the picture. This is about you getting your own ephemeris and reading it. So if we were 1,000 years old and then fully realized beings, this entire ephemeris of 100 years, this entire ephemeris of 50 more years, you would still be an infant of consciousness when you were 150 years old. So even if you went through this entire ephemeris and this entire ephemeris, you would still be an infant in your consciousness. And yet in this system, we are told that there is some kind of heaven that we will get into. And this is why you must study the work of the only avatar that I believe is on this planet right now, which is Aurora. The idea is that you must be able to activate your DNA. It's not about forgiveness or, that somehow you were good enough. That's what the imprisoners, which have called themselves gods, have told us. So in order to activate your 12-strand DNA and the stelliated dodecahedron, so they're just showing you the dodecahedral DNA, but I happen to know when it is fully activated, it actually makes a stelliated dodecahedron, which is a giant star Merkaba. So yeah, the awareness of what affects the DNA is what I was telling you in this chapter, chapter 12. It's very much about how we handle grief. It's very much as our species gets more and more into just pushing buttons and depending on the government and so forth. Hey, Katie, yeah, I'm definitely thinking about you a lot, Katie. totally was thinking about you all this morning. And I'm gonna speak to that too. So the composting of grief and how we handle the grief is how you activate this DNA. So that was in that last video that I made that was over 2 hours long, and a lot of important people were commenting at the end also about, like, right now you should be doing your parasite cleanse because we're moving into the full moon. And part of activating our DNA has to do with not having parasites eat us. And they are both interdimensional parasites and the synthetic pathogens that have been created to continually affect us. So there was a person that I've actually deleted and muted that person who was arguing with me that, Lalita, you're crazy. There is such a thing as forgiveness. My love, that is the MK Ultra program of religion. There's no such thing as forgiveness because there's no judge. There's no judge. They set the whole system up based on that there's some father sky god thing waiting to judge you. There's not. There's only you. And this is your blueprint and your way back to your bond with divinity is inside of you. It's not some father god sitting up there going, oh, that one was good. Oh, that one was not good. Oh, that one we forgive. That's a total bullshit program. So you see, everything in here is about reducing your lifespan, like I just showed you in this ephemeris, so that you can't make it to 150 years old, where your Jupiter will be direct and you will start having some realization about your own unique abilities and individuality. Yes, Stephanie, you are the one that you've been waiting for. It's you. It's not outside of you. There's not some father God waiting to, forgive you of your sins. This is absolute bullshit, people. That's why you watch Paul Wallace, who is reading the actual cuneiform. And there's some great stuff out just now about, like, the land of milk and honey, because these invaders are eating us. They are eating us. They need us to die. There was even Elon Musk's father was on this morning talking about how they were going to eat one of his children for lunch, because the eating of a human body is how they take our gold. They literally eat children. I don't know how you all don't know this. Truly, it's amazing to me. All right. So here's what we're going to look at today. And I've marked for where we are today. We're coming into some really good transits finally. And again, you don't need to look at my camera. I cannot hold this still. And so what's happening right now is we've made it through this period, and we're moving into this period right now of 2025. And again, we've got the sun, the moon at midnight, the moon at noon, the north node, and Mercury. Mercury was retrograde here. And Mercury this weekend, when we do our class on Mercury, you see how it's no longer shaded and it's going to go direct. So then it will be direct and visible and starting to move at speed again. And that's where your brain can start working, your speech, your ability to communicate. Just like I said with my mother's chart, she was not even able to communicate or articulate until she was 13 years old. And so if you have a child that can't learn their letters or their numbers, notice if their Mercury is retrograde and stop doing that to them. Take them out of school and let them just play in the forest. And then maybe suddenly when their Mercury's direct, they'll suddenly be like, yeah, I want to read a book. Absolutely, Stephanie. Reading Stephanie's about how they're harvesting. Yes, we're their food. Those so-called Anunnaki, the people in the Bible, we're their food. That's why it's a perpetual Holocaust. So here's the Mercury is going to be direct. Okay. Now I've circled over here the two benefics. That day, we're going to do our class in Mercury, and then I'm immediately going to the ocean because Venus and Jupiter are going to conjoin in Cancer. The way you find out what the sign is that they are going to be in, and I know this is impossible to show you, try and get a little bit closer there. That's the symbol of Cancer, Venus in Cancer. That's the symbol of Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer. Now, Venus moves faster than Jupiter, and this is the other thing you can learn from the Ephemeris. They will have a conjunction on the 11th and 12th. So Venus is moving much faster, and she's going from 0 at the beginning of the month, and Jupiter's at 11, but Venus is a faster sign. So she's going to catch up with Jupiter. And so we're looking over here at the date, August 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. I'm taking, after our class on Sunday, I'm going to the ocean. And I'm going to do some ceremony. There's some places that I'm going to go. And I've got a drum ordered, and I haven't drummed, but I started singing last night and playing a Tupperware. And I'm getting ready to go and speak to the waters. All right, so this is super beneficial. What you can also see that those are both the benefics in a water sign. You can take water either way. You can either be drowning in grief, or you can create your own ecstasy. And it's totally up to you. If you want to drown in grief, then your DNA is going to have problems, okay? And I showed you the pictures last week of what happens to your DNA is that your DNA is very much a cymatic, all right? So your DNA, when it's forming, is forming like a water cymatic. It's forming. So when you sing and things are beneficial and you dance, you start to get these formations inside of your blood. All right, so here's a lotus flower, and you can see that it makes a plate. Here's a mermaid, and it makes the cymatic. So you basically are liquid crystal. That's what you are. You're liquid crystal. You are a liquid crystal. And so for me, in order for me to not be drowning in grief and being responsible for my own individuated consciousness, I say, okay, we've got a lot of water energy. We've got the benefics in water. That's Cancer. That's Cancer. So I'm going to go to the water. What is not in good condition right now is Saturn is retrograde in Aries. Neptune is conjunct Saturn retrograde in Aries. Saturn is in a fall in Aries. Saturn cannot bring about its conditions in Aries, and it's conjunct Neptune. So it's like living in some kind of horrible dream, and it doesn't know what dream it's in because Saturn is like the law, and Neptune is a fantasy, the fantasy of the law. And we're all starting to realize now that all these laws are ridiculous. None of them serve us, that's for sure. Pluto has been retrograde for so long. All right, that's the shaded area. But the good thing about Pluto, it's an outer planet unless it's sitting right on your ascendant or your sun or your Venus or whatever. You know, Pluto's an outer planet, and I don't really care anything about what Pluto's doing, but it's all the way back to the first degree of Aquarius, all the way here, and then it'll start to move forward. So now let's just look ahead. We know that the eclipses are here. So I've got an eclipse marker here, an eclipse marker here. So we're going to have big changes, and it's a water trine kite, and I will talk to Nish on the Cosmic Salon about that, because I'm going to say a very similar thing. It's up to you whether you want to be in grief or you want to activate your ecstatic experience. Water is whatever you want it to be. That's the thing about water. Now, when we get to November, which is when we're going to have the retreat in Wakala, and certainly, yeah, I would love to fill our entire retreat with our people so that we can really be ourselves. At that point, we've got Mercury direct, Venus direct, Mars direct, Jupiter direct, all of that week, and the outer planets are retrograde, but I'm not worried about the outer planets. But what are they in? Water. We've got massive water, and it's a north node in Pisces, which is water. So you influence water. Water is influenced by you. If you're in grief and in fear, the cymatic of the water is going to look in a very unstructured, horrible way. Here's water reflecting stress. Water reflecting stress, okay? This is much why I am going to the water. It's not like I'm going on vacation. I'm going to do ceremony. I'm going to be a pilgrim. I'm going to speak to the water because I am water. I am liquid crystal. That's what I am. So don't wish to come one day, ashes to ashes. We're going to be done here very soon. It's not a one-day situation, love. I don't think I will ever do this retreat again. So if you're coming, you got to come this year. I'm never doing this again. I don't think we can do this again. All right. There's too much happening right now. We've got the earthquakes and the reversals of the water right now. So this is it. I'm not doing another retreat. So please do not wait. If you're coming, you got to be there. I'm not doing another one because we don't have that. So you have to be able to go if you want to go. And there is a guy that I'm following who walked from Washington State. He's been walking for 790 days, and he is right now in Leon County, Florida. So he walked through Crawfordville, Wakala. He made it to Monticello. And he's walked from Washington State across the country. So this is, I often wonder, like, what is people's problem? Honestly, I don't know, because I'm a very directed person. I don't wait for the government to do it for me. I don't wait for someone to give me a job. I just do what I'm doing. I just do it. And the only planet I have in Aries is Chiron. So don't think it's been easy for me to just do it. But you just have to do it. And that area is super unbelievable. There's 1 million acres there. And, in terms of having kids and stuff, what the heck, people? I don't want to hear your excuses. I took my kids with me everywhere. I took them to every retreat that I went to. I'm trying to find a map for you to show you where we're going. My kids wherever I went on retreat, they were with me. Whenever I go on retreat, my dog's with me. You think Ezzy's not going to be there? Ezzy's going to be there. And when I did my shamanic training, my kids came with me. When I did yoga retreats, when I did UFO retreats in Australia, my kids were with me. My kid still talks about the UFO retreat that she went to. And my older daughter talks about the retreat that I went to in Switzerland with, I'm talking about the secret space program and the weirdest people you've ever heard. And my kid was there. So this is where we're going. All right, this is, you can't really see, but this area, this is called the Hidden Coast. And I put up a picture of this because I know it's darn hard for me to be able to hold this thing. But the Wakulla is a massive underwater cave. And I look at it every single day because I'm part of the Friends of Wakulla. All of this is considered the original Garden of Eden. Eden is not in Israel, it has nothing to do with Israel. This is Eden, all of this. These are the most ancient plants in the world. These plants are the most powerful plants in the world. The trees are very ancient. And I kayaked all of this. So where is it? All the way down to Crystal River. I stayed in Steinhatchee. Let me see. I stayed in Cedar Key. I swam with the manatees in Inglace, Yankeetown, Crystal River. And all of this is called the Hidden Coast. So the mounds, the huge Mayan crystal mounds, are from Crystal River. And then if you go up here, there's a mound called the Letchworth Love Mound. Nobody's there. My daughter and I walked around that property over and over. There's nobody there. There's no park rangers there. All of this is open land, 1 million acres. And these mounds are the ancient structures of what's called a stargate. All right, they're all around this area. A stargate is made out of a certain cymatic on water. This is the area, okay? All of this area is aquifers, ancient aquifers. So that, people are going, oh, the water's polluted, there's flesh-eating bacteria. Not in the springs. Not in the springs. The springs are flowing up from the water inside the earth. Some of the water that you're touching is centuries old, possibly thousands of years old. So the cymatics of that water has memory. So some of this is about the memory of water, the cymatics that we receive, but also what we're generating and giving into that water, which is why I go to natural places every day. I walk around a lake or swim a lake or kayak a lake or go in a spring, because as I showed you from the DNA, we're water. You are water. So some jokes. Why is it not the Gulf of America? Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. So in terms of food and so forth, I put up a little map. There's a goat farm, raw milk goat farm, just outside of Tallahassee. It's actually a hip camp. You can stay there. You can get your raw milk goat farm right there. So the raw milk is right there. In Monticello, let me see where Monticello is, which is right here, Monticello. So Tallahassee, Monticello, Wakulla, this whole area. Monticello has a farmer's market on Wednesday afternoons. Now, I don't know that you want to drive out there, but Tallahassee has farmers markets. They also have food co-ops. So my daughter found the food co-op in Tallahassee. So if you're driving in, you're just going to have to, there's like Asian food markets that I shop at and different things. Monticello has like good organic bakeries and farmers markets. Sandy's saying Serenity Goat Farm is just down the road in Madison. So yeah, I mean, Sandy's there too, and she's in the group. So we're going to have to figure out, I will be bringing water, structured water. Like Claude and I always travel with our water. And then food, it's like you have to bring what you need and then get some stuff there. If you're staying at one of the campgrounds, they have little camp stores, but I know our diets are different, right? So you might want to get some side of the road places. There are some vendors on the side of the road. There's another woman that I really like between like Monticello and Wassissa. There is a woman who has her own winery. So you have to look up this winery, but it's not just wine. She has tons of fruit trees and gardens. I always buy stuff from them. And then this whole route here is like, there's farms. People think of Florida, they're thinking of like, this, which is its own country under its own jurisdiction for human trafficking. They're thinking of this. This part of Florida, this is all farms. All of this is farms. So if you just drive down, don't get on 10. 10 is the big throughway, but there's a little road just above that called 90 that goes through Greenville to Monticello, and it comes into Tallahassee right here. 90 is, how maybe Katie will be with me by then. Sandy and I will, if we're coming over, we're going to come here or we're going to come diagonally down here through the Wassissa. The Wassissa is where, let's see where the Wassissa is, if it's on here. That's where we're going to do a big kayak group. For anyone that wants to go on Friday, we'll get boats and paddle that. And yeah, so, I want to get all the food that you need. So if you're coming, and I know Rebecca's coming all the way from Germany and there's concerns about food and water, I'll bring what you need. You just have to email me and maybe we're going to have a group call sometime and say, what do you need? Yeah, Katie, look in Crawfordville, right there, Crawfordville. Crawfordville can get you within 20 minutes to Tallahassee. There's only two roads. All right, that road and then this little tiny road right here will get you back to Tallahassee. This is all national forest. You just can't tell from the map. It's literally called the Hidden Coast. They don't want anyone to know about it, honestly. And then there's this little, so I tagged you on this Panacea. Katie, Panacea is right below Crawfordville. I tagged you on Facebook this morning. And then one of the beaches that a lot of people are camping is, I can't say that word. It's like Ochlochnockie, but you're right there on the Gulf. Like, it's amazing. So this area between here and here is what's called a thin place, right? The springs are underneath us. The land is very thin. And then you're right here, and like, this is great winds and everything and beautiful. There's the dolphins and everything. And I've done all of this. You can't even see, I did Panama City. I did all of this all the way down to Ingles. We stayed in Yankeetown and we did Crystal River and we swam down there in the springs. So I've done all of this to try and determine where we should be. This is it. There's no 5G plus down here either. And in terms of the Navy maps that came out in Forbes magazine and Edgar Casey's study of what happens after the pole shift, there won't be a West Coast. And we can already see the water has reversed from the southern hemisphere up to California. The there's no west coast, okay? Like California up to Washington, all the way inland to Utah is underwater. And then there's a split like way over here up towards Tennessee that is water. And then, of course, you know, from here down, all of this is going to be underwater. So if you're in Tampa and down, you're going to be underwater because this is below sea level. Where I live is one of the high points. Up here in this part of Florida, there's actually 350 feet above sea level. And no one knows this about Florida. They think it's all just flat. But up here, there's actually hills, you know, and I searched for years to find this property. So it wasn't just like this. I've been doing this. I've been searching Florida for 40 years. So I've been traveling to Florida for 40 years to determine this. So I'm not like just making some shit up right now. And not only have I traveled Florida, but anyone who knows me knows I've traveled the whole world and dragged my children and animals with me. So, so if I did it, you can do it. And also, oh, Michael St. John is saying, I like Destin. Yeah. Destin is amazing. Destin's over here. Destin is like a white sand beach. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. So, yeah. And I mean, everyone's saying, you know, oh, Florida's going to be underwater. I don't know. You know, all of this is weather warfare anyway. So, where we had the last 2 years of hurricanes up here last year, I put up like a huge pink wall right here. I just, you know, it's a shamanic thing that I do. And I just put up a big pink wall because they said that that hurricane, it was unsurvivable and no one was going to live or whatever. And in my shamanic abilities, I just put up a huge pink wall right here. And then other people were taking down the NORAD towers. And I know there were 138 tornadoes that mostly ripped out all the trees and stuff, but those high winds were artificial. They had nothing to do with nature. Those are created by the NORAD towers. So, yeah, Earth is our home. As Katie says, there's no reason to just live in one place. This is also a mind control program, like borders. Like this is Georgia and this is Florida. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, you know, all of this is made up. All of it. You should be able to move around all the time without any passports, without any of the mind control crap that they put upon us. And yeah, you can hitchhike. Like when I was, I don't know how old I was. I was a wild child, but I went all the way from New York to California, and you can hitchhike, you can walk. One of the reasons that I wanted to live in these areas, let me see, yeah, my house is circled right here, is I knew I could walk all the way back up to New Hampshire on the AT trail if I wanted to. So, you know, I live my life not waiting to die. I live my life expecting easily to still be hiking the AT trail when I'm 113. Easily. But I don't know that, you know, we're at a dead end with this particular matrix, and we're going to have to make a big change with the pole shift here. So that's why, you know, you have to keep your body active, because your ecstasy, your happiness, your ability to move around is how you activate this. Waiting for some messiah. That was like the other big lie. Like some messiah's coming and then it'll be okay. We'll elect the right president and all that bullshit. Folks, that is a psyop. That is a complete lie. Yeah, the Messiah already came and it is you. The Christ is you. You have to activate this. And the other thing is the Christ is the sun, and the sun is not doing so well. So, like, the sun is basically psychopathic at this point, folks. It's just totally had so many satanic rituals done to it through this, alleged religious program that it's psychopathic at this point. And in terms of plane tickets and plane, people are still trying to figure out. You're coming into Tallahassee. There's a lot of people driving down from, some people are coming from Texas, some people are coming from Georgia, some people are coming from Tennessee. So they're driving all these different directions. And I'm trying so hard to get you all together so you can carpool if you're an international flight. Otherwise, it's like a 20-minute taxi ride. All right, it's not far. And you can do it. I've done it. Gosh, when I came into Australia, I met some guy on Facebook and I was like, yeah, my daughter and I are traveling. Can you give us a ride to town so we can get some food? We were in Bright, Australia, and he had a black garbage bag in the back of his car. And my daughter was like, how do you know this guy, Mom? Who is this guy? And I was like, oh, it's okay, honey. I met him on Facebook. And she was like, Mom, what are you doing? You met some guy on Facebook and we're getting in his car. Don't you see that he has black garbage bags in the back of his car? Mom, he's going to kill us. So, oh my gosh, that's how you got to do it, folks. I know it's getting scarier and scarier, but what are you waiting for? We survived that trip and we stayed in some little campground and we got rides into town to get some food. And when Claude and I are hungry, we literally find some berries. We walked this morning and I was starving because I forgot to eat. So we found some berries. You have to be a wild, feral human to activate this. You cannot live in helpless suffering. They have convinced you of that. You have to be wild. All right? So that's what I have for you, because now I'm going to do my dance class. But yeah, look at the people that are on right now. I wanted you to see some of these comments. There's someone that is saying all baloney. Just look at the comments. See that one? Yeah. Yeah. See that one? Just deleted all those messages right there. So those are the controlled opposition people. They are paid to watch me. They are paid to watch me. That's why, in terms of our retreat, our wild reunion, that's what, the confidential part of it, that I can't just be like, here's what we're doing, come on. Because there's absolute assholes who are working all the time, and you have to be stronger than they are. All right? Yeah, he was very into religion, and the religious people are lost, folks. They just do not know. At this point, they are part of the mind control program. They do not know. And they will, the Jesus bots are everywhere. They have no idea. They do not know. So, my friends, I am going to get ready to dance right now, but these are the things that we will study a little bit this week as the Ephemeris. So I wanted to show you how to use that. And you can't see it like when I'm holding it up, with this phone or with the laptop. You have to start looking at it yourself and being able to read it yourself. Being able to read what is shaded is retrograde. And I really wanted to show you progressions of Mercury, so that if you have a child born with Mercury, don't put them in school until they get past that Mercury retrograde by progression. By every year that you're alive, is 1 day forward in the ephemeris. That's how you count it, okay? And if Mercury is retrograde for 30 days and you're born with a Mercury retrograde, you will have like basically backwards thinking. I don't know how else to say it. Like your neural pathways will be backwards and your communication will not be direct until you get past the Mercury retrograde. Venus is terrible. Venus is 40 days. So if you're born on a stationed retrograde Venus, like my older daughter, you will have the first 40 years of your life, you'll be in hell. My mom, with the Jupiter retrograde, very, very difficult. It'll be like 150 years of Jupiter retrograde in her chart, and it's so difficult. Sandy, you were born with Mercury retrograde. Yeah, Nish, you got on. Hi, hon. Well, Nish, you and I are going to speak soon. So, yeah, we're going to have a great conversation on this too. So, my loves, I got to go because I have a dance class next. Thank you all so much. Big kiss, big love. Katie, the Schumann resonance is absolutely connected to the heart. Maybe we'll talk about that, but that's why I got a drum. I got a drum because you can regulate it yourself. You hear me, loves?